Welcome to the Midnight Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Easton Bennett, alongside my fellow co-host, Tyler Sinden. We are both entrepreneurs who are learning, growing, and building our own businesses, and our goal is to share our experience and knowledge to help you grow and become a successful entrepreneur. Strap in. Tyler, what the hell is going on, my man?
Not much, just getting a quick Instagram story posted. If you aren't following, go out and follow the Midnight Entrepreneur on Instagram. Yeah, I did pretty well last episode, plugging three different episodes, so I'm on fire right now.
Maybe we should start doing a call to action in the beginning because I don't know how many people get to the end. So if you are not following our socials, go follow the socials and maybe share this on your story, and we can gain some traction with some of your followers too. If you enjoy the show. If you don't enjoy the show, then just keep listening and you don't have to share with anybody.
Yeah, we'd appreciate it if you just listen. But yeah, how's it going over there on the south side of the border? Good. South side of the border is good. It's cold as all hell today. I think it's -10, -15 degrees, but I've went outside a couple times, had a couple meetings. Other than that, trying to stay warm. What about you, Tyler? How's it on the north side? The north. It's not too bad. It's a little bit warmer than where you're at. It's funny, I was looking at the weather today because I will hopefully be crossing the border, and I added a few locations that I plan on stopping at. And Minot is one of the locations that I added for weather, and it is very cold there compared to
we made
compared
the cut.
to here.
Minot made the cut.
Yes,
That's what I like to hear.
Yes, you did. Can't let down my college hometown.
No, exactly. So hopefully we're seeing each other in the near future. Maybe we can do a live episode. We're going to have to.
Yeah, we definitely, if I make it across the border, that's exactly what we're doing.
Live episode. We just filmed 30. We're going to be like, man, that guy moved into Minot.
Yeah. I'm going to be trying to move to America.
There you go. The land of the free and the home of the brave.
Yes, exactly. I'm gonna get there one day.
One day. Let's get into a little bit of a few updates from both of us. I think you went first last week, so I'll go first this week. Something new for me. I know we talked about this coaching, this mastermind, this video business academy, it's called, for maybe the last week or two. And I officially had my onboarding here. What is today? Tuesday? So I had it.
That is correct.
I had it yesterday, Monday. My days are all mixed up, man. But had the onboarding, got access to pretty much all the videos and the training, and can start working through that together. Or not together, but together, like not me and you together, but together with the coaches. So I'm pretty excited about that, and I got cracking on that. But yeah, that's exciting to finally get access to the program.
So I think one cool thing that they did with you when you sign up with it, they gave you some bonus gifts. So I don't know if you want to share that, because I just think that's a good addition if anyone's ever trying to sell a course or sell a program or gain new customers. I think that's just a little one-up that, it's a little client delight.
Yeah, for sure. And they sent me a book in the mail. I came home from a meeting and I saw I had an Amazon package and I was like, what the hell did I order? I don't remember ordering anything. And then I opened it up and there was a book, Think and Grow Rich, by, God, I can't remember the guy's name, Napoleon Hill. And Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And inside of it was just a little thank you from Nick Metzger, who's the guy that started Money Tree Consulting and does this coaching program. And I was like, oh, that's kind of a nice little touch. And then I also filled out, you have to fill out a form, it's called a current situation form, which is at the beginning of the program. You go through your current situation, how much money you're making, that kind of thing, so they can get you to your goals. And at the very bottom, it said, what size hoodie are you? Like sweatshirt. So I don't know if one of those
is getting some new merch.
Yeah, I don't know if one of those is coming in the mail. So I'm pretty excited about that. But yeah, they are nice little additions, especially when you sign up for something that is a little bit more on the expensive side. It is nice to get those personal touches.
Yeah, that's what I like to say when I got my Arete shirt. That's my most expensive shirt I own.
Oh, exactly. That book is worth a lot of money. You can get it on Amazon for $20, but you can get it for $24,000 if you want to.
A lot of people recommend it. So I think if you read it, apply those principles, and maybe it'll turn your business into that much more.
Imagine that's actually the course. They just buy you that book.
Read the book.
They're like, here you go. Implement this. And like, we'll see you later. Like, wow.
Yeah.
Do I get my money back? But no, I was wondering if I actually had the book already, because it's been on my list forever, but I don't have it. It's been on my Amazon book list for literally like a year and a half. So it's nice that someone finally pulled the trigger for me. But
now you got it. No excuses.
Exactly. And the one thing I wanted to touch on as far as this goes before I throw it over to you is the feeling that I had once I got off the onboarding call. So it was like 10 to 15 minutes, and I don't know why, but it was just pumping through me. That's like, let's go. I'm fired up. Let's get after this. And I don't know if it's a mindset thing. I think I texted you right after that, and I probably just said like, let's go. Just like a simple, let's attack the day. But yeah, that feeling you get, that's like, all right, there's big changes coming. I can feel it. And that's kind of what I felt. So I wanted to add that in there too.
You're taking action, and it's one small step towards one big outcome.
Yeah. One small step for man. And then there's going to be a big step for mankind here in the next couple of years.
Yes, there will be. I like it.
What else you got on your little update list here, Tyler, for us?
So it's not on the list, but I just got off a call with someone through Arete, and what I thought it was going to be, he basically just asked the group if anyone had any experience in HubSpot, which I did. So I was like, hey, I got quite a few years of experience, and I thought it was just going to be, they wanted to start implementing something new. So I was like, I can hop on a call and see if I can help you out or offer any of my insights. And basically what it ended up being was he was screening people to see if they would be a good fit because he's trying to expand his business. So he's looking to consult or hire a marketing consultant to try and help them grow their business. So I wasn't really expecting that, but I think it went well, but I'm obviously not going to be he's not obviously going to be hiring me on to do it. And like, I was looking through his website and some of the clients he has, I'm like, wow, he's pretty big time here. And the one cool thing that, like, once we went through all the process, he straight up told me like, this probably isn't going to be a good fit just because your time commitments and everything. We want someone that has a lot more time commitment available that they'll be able to offer us. And that might've just been an excuse to a polite way of saying no, but it was cool because at the end of it, we started talking a little bit about Arete, and it's cool seeing, it's reassuring, I should say. It's reassuring seeing someone that you think has it all figured out, that they're way up there on the list, having the same thoughts that you're having.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool to hear that, and it's reassuring. So
it closes the gap.
It was hearing a lot of the same things that was going through his mind when he was signing up for Arete and all the self-doubt and everything. So it's just like we both had the same thought of, man, I'm in over my head with this group, and just seeing people that you think are way up there and they have the same thoughts. It's like, okay.
Yeah, no, that's pretty sweet. So is he further along then? Does everyone join the program at the same time, or how's that work? Has he been in it for a little bit longer than you?
Yeah, he's been in for a little bit over a year. And basically how the group works, they have open enrollment and then you got to apply. And I think they say Andy and Ed go through all the applications, you get approved or denied. And I don't know if they actually do, because I'm assuming they get a lot of applications, and I'd be surprised if Andy or Ed did that because they have a team.
Yeah.
And they say Andy and Ed do it. So they look through the applications, you get approved or denied. And once you get approved, then you can sign up. So yeah, that's
okay.
They open enrollment every now and then. Yeah.
Gotcha. No, that's pretty sweet. And it's nice talking to people that are in the same area, in the same space as you, that are thinking, just kind of figuring out, okay, they're on the same mindset as me, and being around those kinds of people.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to do, is surround myself with those people that are going to stretch my mind and make me think big. Hey,
and that's what I think you're on the right path to doing. Speaking of thinking big, a fantastic transition. This isn't on my list either, but I was in a business meeting yesterday, and in the middle of my meeting, they had to take another meeting over the phone, which was fine because I went to my meeting a little bit early because the other one got moved. And he said, hey, do you mind if we take this call? And I'm not going to say any company names or anything, but they started having this phone call with this gentleman, and they were talking about the owner of the company purchasing, all of the controlling rights to 75% of X company, and that they were starting a new company overseas, and they were talking about valuations and talking about investing millions of dollars, and what is it? Is it worth $10 million? Is it worth $20 million? And just sitting in the room for that conversation really opened my mind to be like, wow, there's so much more out there that I haven't even tapped into, that I have to start thinking bigger than these minuscule thoughts I'm having about the day-to-day operations. Yeah, you might get $5,000, $10,000, but once people start talking in the $1 million range, that's when things kind of get exciting. So I was really soaking that in during that meeting.
There's so much abundance out there, and I don't know if you want to go into more stuff, but that kind of ties into what I wanted to talk about briefly, if there was time. And since there's a little bit of time, we aren't too long in. But basically, I had a coaching / sales call to join another program. And basically what it was is the guy wants to turn 25 people into millionaires this year. And I was on a coaching call, and the guy was in a similar field as me where it's marketing, lead gen. And basically he was making it seem like it's so easy. I don't have the guidance. I haven't seen the roadmap. I haven't seen the path, and just basically expanding your mind. And that's basically what that call did, because he's talking these big numbers. Like you can make so much more money working on your own, and you have the skills and knowledge. And I think that's one thing that I don't hear a lot of is people talking big and like expanding your mind. Like you hear all these podcasts and they give a lot of good business tips and all that stuff. But I think it's just hearing other people talking such on a bigger scale, and then you start thinking on a bigger scale as well, and just surrounding yourself with that. And I think I don't know if like we need that more. Like say like Andy Frisella or Ed Milet talking, like if you think big, you're gonna be getting like bigger numbers or whatever. Like there's so much more abundance out there where you're thinking so small. So you got to like expand your mind a little bit to actually believe that this is possible.
I saw a video where someone said, whatever you, and this is all over the place, but whatever you think in your head is like, I don't know the exact thing, but it's like it was someone talking about getting sick. Like there was an experiment done where people told they were sick and they weren't really, and the brain made them sick. And I think the same goes for success wise. If you think big, and maybe that's our 2023, that's our motto for the year, think big. If you think, in the millions of dollars range, instead of trying to make hundreds of thousands of dollars, things really expand and start to open up your mind. But yeah, I think the brain is so powerful that you never know, man. Things get weird in a good way.
I had a quote I made up. It's called, or made up, whatever you want to call it. Dream big, think big, live big.
Oh, there you go. Put that on a t-shirt. There's your $1 million t-shirt idea. But no, yeah, I mean, that can be our motto for the year. Think big. As far as a couple more updates on my end, we talked about the new 3-call close, the 3-call strategy that I've been implementing, and I had probably one of the best discovery calls I've had so far. Just the information I got out of the calls from them talking about their business in depth, and I ended up getting a budget at the end. It wasn't the biggest budget, $5,000 for the year, but it's nice to see that the discovery call is bringing out information that helps me put together more valuable packages. So I think we're going in the right direction with that, and I'm just going to keep working on that process.
Do you want to add some how, what, or why on how that made, or why that made it the best discovery call?
Yeah, I think the conversation flowed really well. I think I was thinking of good questions to ask and really diving into the business. And I made it a point to, if I was ready and thought the meeting was over, come up with some other question. Just ask something and just try to get another answer out of them, because usually one answer turns into 3, 4, 5, 6 different answers. So I was trying to extend the meeting as long as I could. I think it was 50-ish minutes. And then they gave me a tour of the building, but got a lot out of it. And I think it might have helped on their end because there was 2 people in the meeting instead of just a one-on-one. But yeah, I mean, it was just really diving into the questions. And even if the answers meant nothing, it might lead into an answer that does mean something.
Yeah. So I think moral, ask questions, ask a lot of questions and let them talk.
Ask more. Yeah. And that's the thing, is just shutting up, letting them talk. A lot of times people say people fill silence. So if you just sit there and you don't speak, someone's going to want to say something. Yeah, it feels really awkward, but it's beneficial in the end.
Yeah. And then I don't know if you want to hit anything else. I'll just really quickly say this because we touched on it last week. We set the one goal and this is what we wanted to do. And what ended up happening, we pushed it forward, we got it done, and we got it live. And now we're moving on to the next one. So we talked really briefly about it. So setting that one goal and everyone focusing on it really helps.
Yeah. And for a reminder, the people that may not have listened, what is that one goal that you had that you accomplished?
It was to update our website to make it more aligned with our vision where we want to be moving forward. Yeah. Do you have a one goal this week? We'll talk about it on Friday. No, it's ironic because we kind of have 2, but we kind of got one out of the way already. But we somewhat have two, because one was already done, and then now we're working on the other one. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's one piece of something you can take with you. Start picking one goal for the week and executing it that week, and then run with it from there. Anything else you want to update on there? I know we had our second mastermind, which went super well, but I don't think we need to go super in depth about that. The masterminds are going well, I think. Yeah.
I'm loving them. Yeah. I'm thinking about if I do cross the border, I'll be hanging out with Eddie. I'll see how many masterminds he's in and see if he's not in 17, if he feels like joining.
Hey, we just started one. Got 2 members.
It's actually going really well.
Yeah, he's like, really? Like, for us, yeah.
No, I think it's going really good.
No, I think it's good.
Came out with some really good ideas last one.
Yeah, and it's giving us more actionable advice to actually move the business and move the needle forward, rather than just high end, we're going to get to $1 million company. It's like, okay, how? So really, I'm liking them too, and I'm excited for this week's. Other than that, Tyler, you got to add anything?
No, I think we're ready to jump in.
Sweet. Okay, so this week we're talking about speaking from experience versus regurgitating information that you hear online. And a majority of this, we're talking about, your content and the stuff you're putting out there, but also the advice you're giving people. If someone asks you a question, or, when you're pitching a client, try to speak from experience as much as you possibly can, instead of just saying what everybody else says. What are your thoughts on this, Tyler?
I feel like we're in a really good stage right now, because there's so many people that are online making shorts, making reels, making TikToks, whatever you want to call it. And all they're saying is the exact same things that the bigger accounts are saying. Say Alex Hormozi, Ed Milet, whatever it might be. Maybe it's even in books. They read it somewhere and now they're just regurgitating it. And I just know Andy talks a lot about it, and there's like so many coaches out there, and I feel like a lot of their information that they get is just from other people, and it's not from what they've actually done. And that was one thing that I had a coaching call a little while ago, and basically I told him, he's like, it's tough for me to be a coach because I don't have what I want to have in order to teach other people. And it's like, why would someone come to me? Because I don't have what they want to be striving for.
Yeah. If someone wants to weigh 150 pounds and you weigh 300, it's hard to be like, well, I can get you there. It's like, well, you're not there.
Or it's like, I want to get to $100 million company and I only have $1 million company. How am I going to help this person get to 100 million?
The correlation doesn't make sense. So that's where
exactly
it helps a ton speaking in people. I think it's more genuine when people go through the process with you, the journey with you. And we're going to talk about the benefits and the cons down the road. But one example for this that we had for this topic was our podcast. In the beginning, a lot of the stuff we were saying was stuff we read in books or in videos we watched or other podcasts we listened to. And really, we were just repeating it. We were a middleman to get the information to you. And we really had to sit down. Well, I mean, we didn't sit down together, but we talked about it and said, let's just start speaking more from our own experiences. Let's talk about things we actually talk about. And I think ever since we had that conversation, that the podcast has really took a turn.
Yeah, I feel like it's helped us, honestly, because we're more experienced from what we're talking about, and we're not just talking from other people. And I feel like I notice it in the language that I use. I'm using a lot better language instead of other words, and I've gotten a lot better at this one filler word that two filler words that I would always say, and I feel like it's because back when I was saying like regurgitated information, I feel like a lot of that information that I was saying was because I was saying it from someone else that I heard it from or someone else that I read it from.
Because you're just in the filler word, I assume, is right? Or like.
No,
Yeah, I say all the time, and I say it a lot with clients too. And that's one thing that I think we had a brief conversation about that too, of cutting out these words. And even when you use the word like a lot, like if you do it like this, then like, and people are like, why do you keep saying like so much? But cutting out those filler words, it is starting to add some confidence to what you're saying. Yeah. One example of this, very polarizing, Andrew Tate, the way he speaks is very straightforward. He knows exactly what he's going to say. He doesn't use filler words. There's no speculation. And I think if you can go into a conversation like that, people think you're more credible and they trust you a lot more.
Yeah, he probably believes so much in what he's saying. That's why he says it with such confidence. Everything that he says, he believes it strongly. He has a strong opinion, and he fully believes what he's saying. And I think that might have been the disconnect with us, and especially other people. If you maybe go and watch other people that are regurgitating information, you can probably pick up on these cues that they're saying, they continually say, because they're just repeating information from other people.
Don't have creation from regurgitation. There's the second saying of the year.
Love it.
But yeah, I mean, our podcast, we really had to look inside of ourselves to make that change, for sure. What else we got on this list here? So one other thing we had is when you give people advice. So if we're not talking about the content creation side, but the more of the advice side, when you give people advice, if you're regurgitating it from someone else that you heard, or a piece of information that you read somewhere or watched somewhere, it's hard to expand on that piece of information if the person starts asking you questions about it. Unless you really understand that piece of information or advice or whatever it might be, it's really hard to elaborate when helping that person or trying to provide them value.
Yeah, you can't really go as in depth with it because you just heard the very base level information from someone else, and now you're just regurgitating very base level information. And because you don't have that experience and knowledge that you actually went through it, you're very out of line to be able to give people information or give people advice on it. And at the same time, they might come to you and say, hey, can you help me with this? Because it seems like you know this, you have the information, you said it, and then they go to you and they're like, this guy's a fucking idiot. He doesn't know anything.
He's like, he literally knew like 2 sentences. And after that, he was like, I don't know. You're going to have to go watch this guy's podcast.
Here, I got a guy. I know a guy. Alex Ramosi. He knows all this information.
Can I phone a friend? And an example for this that we were talking about, I could teach someone. I just said, did you catch it? I could teach someone to start a video production company. I've went through it. I've went through all the processes, all the steps. I know what semi works, what semi doesn't work. It's not going to be the same for every scenario, but I could walk someone through starting a video production company. You could walk through someone starting a retail company if they wanted to start shipping products, if they want to start selling products, whatever it might be. So I think knowing what you're teaching that person through the experiences you've had makes things 10 times better, 100 times better.
Yeah, and I think this goes back to our storytelling episode where we talked a lot. You're able to create a story out of it and draw emotion. You're able to connect with other people with it because maybe they're going through a similar process when you were just starting out, and you're able to go in depth. Like I was saying, you're not at that base level. You're able to go in depth, and then someone will connect with it. They'll be like, oh my God, I had that exact same issue. Maybe this guy knows how I can fix that.
Yeah. And I think if you look at it from a standpoint of, hey, if I'm teaching someone to start a video production company, just the base level information, hey, here's a 7-point bullet. You walk through it, you go through each step and do it. Or if you have me who's went through it and had the experiences, I can give you stories. One time I bought the wrong piece of equipment and then here's why I wouldn't do that. Or I was setting up this document and I did it wrong because of XYZ. This is something you should look out for. Or maybe you have a funny story about working with a client and figuring out, okay, maybe these aren't questions that I should ask because it makes people uncomfortable. So having those personal real life experiences is going to make you much more valuable than just sliding someone over a document and saying, here you go. This is how you start a video production company.
Do you have any questions that you've asked a potential client that made them awkward or uncomfortable?
No, I don't think so. I was thinking more the
that
interview
just came
process.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah. Like the interview process, if I sat down and was interviewing a doctor for a testimonial video, whatever it is, maybe you ask him a weird question like, how much was it to go to school? Something like that. I don't know. That's the best example I could come up with.
It seemed like you pulled that out of experience, so that's why I asked.
No, I pulled it out of my ass is where I pulled it out of. Yeah, same general area. Experience is my ass down there.
Yeah.
Okay. One example we have for this, I can't remember where I read it or heard it or saw it. Here I am regurgitating information. Is to read a book so many times that you could teach the book to someone else. So I really like this principle of if you read a book and you don't understand it, then what's the point of reading the book? You should be able to know that information that you are going to be able to teach someone that walks up to you on the sidewalk. Same thing in the everyday life when you're giving someone advice or putting out content. You should be able to know the ins and outs like the back of your hand. I don't know why people say like the back of your hand, because I don't know shit about the back of my hand, but you should be able. Yeah, exactly. When was the last time you looked at the back of your hand? You're like 25 seconds ago. But you should be able to know the ins and outs so you can at least give that real world experience.
Yeah. Do you have any like examples of when that would happen? Like, are you trying to say, like, for business specifically, are you trying to say to go through failures or go through a lot of these processes that is going to give you those opportunities to be able to say it like you've read the book so many times, or teach it.
I think one example is to practice what you preach. So if I, as a video production company owner, if I go into a business and I say, you should start a podcast, and I've never ran a podcast, I don't have a podcast, I've never created one for someone else, to be like, well, if you're not doing it, why should I do it? You're just telling me because other people are saying to do that. But if I go in and say, you should start a podcast, here's why, and I personally host 3 different podcasts, I know the benefits of it, you get social clips from it, here's the views I'm getting, it's much easier to identify the solution to their problem through whatever you're advising them if you've actually lived that. And, you know, they say walk a mile in my shoes or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think with this specific example, it's good because you're able to pull analytics, you're able to help them out a lot. And say they do start a podcast, you can give them tips, give them advice, be like, this is what you want to do, this is what you don't want to do, this is what you can use, this is what you don't want to use. And I think you're able to give them a lot of different pieces of information instead of the very baseline information of, oh, I heard someone say you should start a podcast, so I'm going to tell you to start a podcast. Now go start a podcast, and I'm not going to start a podcast.
Correct. Or, you know, speaking of like the platforms, you know, if I go to my client and I say, you should be on every single platform, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and I'm not on them myself. Maybe I heard Gary Vaynerchuk say, you have to be on every platform posting 2 times a day, whatever it is. And then the client says, well, you're not doing that. It's a little bit different if I'm on every platform. Yeah, we're tweeting stuff. We're on LinkedIn. We're doing Instagram Reels. We're doing TikTok videos. We're doing just regular Facebook posts. It's much easier to correlate that to what the client is feeling instead of, oh, I heard this from the source over here, you should do it too.
Yeah. Those are some good examples you came up with. Not gonna lie.
Hey, right off the bat too, just out of nowhere, it's just hanging in the wind. I grabbed him. I said, let's use this example.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like, we go back to it. It's speaking from personal experiences. These are conversations I've had. If I pitch a podcast to a client, I've done that. I've pitched podcasts to clients. I've told them they've done it. But if I went in there and pitched it and didn't have any experience in it, well, that would look pretty shoddy. You wouldn't look super trustworthy. You might look amateur. And I can show them, you know, my business podcast, it's going to make $5,000 this year. If I show them, hey, we'll produce this podcast for you for $10,000. If you get it here, you might make $5,000 back in ads, or you're going to get 50,000 views this year off this podcast, and it lives forever. And you're going to get 300 pieces of content in the form of clips. So yeah, it's really practicing what I preach, even on this podcast. It's a real world example. And yeah, what about you on the retail side? Do you have any examples about, I mean, you kind of ping ponged it back and forth with me there.
Yeah, I don't really know, to be honest. Like, just jumping out, because like I feel like you can say, because it's just making me think of you telling someone to be on every single platform, but at the same time, maybe you say you should probably only be on Instagram. Meanwhile, you're on every single platform, and then they might come back like, oh, why are you on all the platforms?
Yeah.
And I just feel like social media is just a really good example, and it's really easy. So that's why it's just top of mind. So,
and even if you use an example like a plumbing company, I just had my sewer replaced last summer. If they came to me and said, hey, you should do PVC pipe for your sewer instead of copper, I'd say, okay. But if that person also had copper at their house and they weren't using PVC pipe, I'd be like, well, why are you telling me to do this? But when they say, hey, I have it at my house, your pipes are going to last 15 years longer, it gives them more credibility. And that's really the thing we go back to, is it becomes a trust factor. We talked a couple episodes ago about like, know, and trust. That's the 3, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you like, know, and trust somebody, that comes off in the information you're giving them. And I think, speaking from experience, it's much easier to do too. It's hard to regurgitate information and remember, like, we butcher things all the time on this podcast. It's like, what was that quote? What was that book we read? It's hard to give people advice when you're thinking of something else. But if you're speaking from something you genuinely know, it's going to make it so much easier.
Yeah. I feel like that trustworthy part is so huge, because then, like, you're really consistent with everything that you're saying. And then sure, you might change it up, but you're going to be changing it up from experience, not because X person said this and Z person said that, and their or what they're saying is conflicting with each other, whereas you had real world experience, and then you're just basically another person in that conversation, and you're just speaking out of your experience compared to what they're speaking from their experience.
And I don't think it's bad if you mix the two either. If you have your own personal experiences, but like we do on this podcast, say, I learned this from a book, just call a spade a spade. Say, I learned this way to create content from a course I took. That's okay to give that advice. But if you try to disguise it as your own voice and your own experience, that's when it gets a little bit tougher.
Yeah, I like that. And then, especially if you're taking it from the book and then you're applying it, you can say that. You're like, oh, I took it from this book, I applied it to my life, and this was the outcome.
Correct. Instead of, oh, I read the spark notes of the book, you should do this. It's like, okay, you're not doing it. You just read the back of the cover at Barnes & Noble. And then you saw the $23.99 for a hardcover and you put it back.
Yeah. Man, I just bought a book and I didn't realize it. I showed you. I bought like 7 or 8 books at once, and I was buying some used one just to lower the cost a bit. And I didn't realize it, but the one book was used and the condition was acceptable, and then there's like a comment on it which I didn't read, I should have read, and it's like it's got some water damage and like all the top of the pages are like waterlogged or whatever, but it's still readable. And I'm like, when I first got it, I'm like, oh my god, this is a piece of shit.
What the hell?
Then I like look at it, I was gonna return it, but then I look at it, I'm like, oh shit, it said this. Should have looked deeper into it.
Hey, as long as the words are legible and readable, then you're good to go.
Yeah. It just sucks having a shitty book that's all mangled. I don't have it on me, or else I'd show you. But
there's something nice about having a brand new book.
I love it. All my books are in pristine condition.
I try to buy all hardcovers too. I'm a big hardcover guy.
I don't like hardcover.
I think it just looks better, feels better. See, look at that freaking New York flop you got on that book.
The flop.
Exactly. I bought the book Atomic Habits last week. I think I sent you a picture.
Yes, you did.
So I'm excited to dive into that one. That's obviously a big business, personal development book that floats around the internet every single year. But see if it's actually legit.
Do you want to continue into benefits, since we kind of already touched on trustworthy? I don't know if we touched on the other ones.
We talked about pretty much most of them. It really comes out in the conversation, but it makes you more trustworthy, makes you more believable, makes you seem more genuine with the personal stories that you're injecting into these conversations or pieces of content or advice, whatever it might be. And it really just comes down to, practicing what you preach. Do what you do and just speak about your experiences. Even if your experiences aren't positive, you can learn a lot from negative experiences.
Yeah. I often go back to the example of a trainer where they don't have the body I have, but they might have the knowledge. That's one thing that I think about, because we don't all have the same goals. Not everyone wants to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Not everyone wants to be 130 pounds lean, or whatever you want to call it. Maybe some people, they just really like transforming people's life, and they don't even like working out themselves. They just like to see the transformation that they're able to help with other people, and they're extremely knowledgeable there. So
yeah, it really comes back to goals too. I mean, I don't know if we've done an episode on goals or not. I think we did. That was the beginning of 2023. Yeah.
I feel like that was one of our first episodes.
Yeah. Goal setting or something like that. One of the cons, while you look that up, because I assume that's what you're doing. We got to plug the show. One of the cons of regurgitating information that you hear from a book or a podcast or a YouTube video or whatever it might be is it's too cookie cutter. You can't really pivot your advice to someone's specific situation. And I think that's a big, big negative. If someone asks me a very specific question and I can only give them a base level answer, it's not helping them at all. And then in turn, they start to look at you as a person that's not valuable. They can't really solve solutions. Everyone's had that advice where it's like, okay, I guess that's pretty commonsensical, but you want in-depth action and customized advice or content or whatever it might be, customized information to actually help with your situation instead of it being so cookie cutter.
Yeah, looking at these episodes, I'm thinking maybe we'll talk after, but episode 9, if you would like to go back to creating a vision and setting goals in business.
There you go. Who did that title? That's a freaking good title, guy.
It's A1 title.
A1 title. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of, we talked about the benefits. We talked about the cons of regurgitating information. Tyler, is there anything else you want to touch on? I mean, we're kind of ripping through this, but I still think we got some good information in there.
Yeah, I do. I was our beginning, I feel like went a little bit long, and I wanted to try and have like that be more valuable. And I was thinking about like maybe what we can do. It might kind of go against this episode, but like we're usually constantly reading a book. Maybe it's like taking a good piece from it, and then we're just saying like, this is what we learned in this book, and I thought it was really good information and just thought I would share it.
Yeah, let's maybe try to dive into more the beginning of the episodes instead of just saying what's going on. Let's see if we can take some points about what we've learned and actually offer it up as advice. Maybe we'll start doing that instead of best discovery call yet. But even the discovery call, we went into why it was good.
Yeah,
hopefully
that's why I tried to ask that question.
Yeah, you're great. Just a layup, man. Just
I'm trying to
alley-oop, and then I just slam. I'll start formulating some more of those questions. You've got my brain sparked, Tyler.
Beautiful.
All right, let's go into this week's business idea. You got anything else on speaking from experience versus regurgitating information?
No, I feel like this is one thing that I've been working on myself, because I feel like I have done a lot of regurgitating, but now that I'm starting to take more action in life, I'm starting to learn a lot more on my own and actually speak from experience. And I think that's one thing that I need to start doing, because that just shows that I'm taking steps in the right direction, taking those small steps, small strides.
I think it stems from doing things too. If you're out there doing things, trying things, failing, winning, you learn so much more to be able to tell stories like this. Some of you might be listening to this podcast thinking, well, I don't have any experiences to speak from. Well, go out there and start doing shit. Start messing things up, start doing things right, and figure out what works, and then you'll have more to speak from. You think all these stand-up comedians, if they didn't go through all these stories or live these lives, they wouldn't have jokes to tell. Same in business. If you didn't live through all these business experiences, go through all these different meetings, work with these different clients, you wouldn't be able to relate it to your future clients. So really, you just got to get out there and start doing.
It's not a failure if you learn something from it.
Exactly. You learn something from every single person you meet. That's what I say.
All right, let's jump into this great business idea that you got.
Great might be a stretch, but I don't even really know how to pitch it because it's very surface. Here's my ideas. I have a question for you before I actually dive into my business idea, since I've actually thought of one. When you think of the business idea to talk about on the show, do you then rack your brain and think a little bit about how it would actually work? Or do you just think, boom, there it is, let's talk about it on the show?
Pretty much. Yeah, I came up with an idea, I think this morning, for my idea, so it just kind of came to me. I feel like it's somewhat already out there, but yeah, I just kind of come up with the gist of the idea. There has been a few where, like the fantasy football league or whatever I called it, like that one was like fully planned out. We had a whole presentation on it, so like that one was a little bit different than other ones, like my X-ray seed machine thing. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I go into it and I have the freaking a one-line elevator pitch. I'm like, this is what I'm going to throw at them, and then we're going to work through it. So this week is some sort, and I don't know if it's an app, a website, a journal, a notification, whatever it is, but business injections. So something that maybe it gives you something weekly or monthly, or maybe you buy something depending on the duration, whether it's weekly, monthly, quarterly, that gives you one thing, a piece of action that will change your business, and you have to inject it into your business in that time frame. So for example, if I relate it to the book that I read called Profit First, maybe you have 2 weeks. You have 2 weeks to implement this into your business, which is you have to create these 5 different bank accounts and start doing this cash flow structure. So then it's almost a reminder, a constant reminder of things you can actually add to your business, whether they're super niche like that, or maybe they're just broad. Maybe it's revamp your sales process. And then maybe you have a checklist of 3 things. You have to do a workflow, like arrows pointing to one box and then the next box, kind of like that picture I sent you of my whiteboard. So there's this business injection, which would be either, a month or a week. You have to do that in that time frame.
So where do these business injections come from? Like these ideas, is it from, so do you have to have someone on your team that's already built and ran a business, or how because it seems like you're kind of, in a sense, creating like I'll say this, I do like the idea, because I think it could be really beneficial for business owners to sign up for, and then it's just giving helpful tips and being like, add this into your business and it's going to help scale it, or it's going to help grow it. So I do like the idea, but
I think it's in my head originally, I think it's more for solopreneurs or entrepreneurs that are just starting out. Maybe they're a one-man team and they are still navigating. Like, I don't know what to do. Because I know I was at that in the beginning where it's like, I don't know what to do. Do I even I had never thought about a sales process until I figured out what a sales process is. But if I had a step by, it's like week 3, it's like, boom, sales process. You thought about this? Well, here's what you need to think about. And then I can implement that in. Or, hey, meetings. Here's how to work through a meeting. Start implementing a new meeting strategy, whatever it might be. So it's almost like a business coach, a mentor, but without having to go out there and actually find a mentor. Because I know that can be difficult.
For sure. Yeah. I don't know. I like the idea. I feel like it's good. It's similar to a coach. And then like, if you already have it implemented, or if you don't like the idea, you don't have to implement it. It's just your choice. If you think it's going to fit well with your company, your culture, whatever, I think it's a pretty good idea.
I don't know what you would sell it as. If it's a book, maybe it's like a workbook, like a handbook. It's like, hey, here's the first 10 pages are on implementing a sales process. If you want to skip that chapter, you're like, I already got a really good one. Boom, skip it. And you go on to this thing. So it's almost, I don't know if it'd be a book, because then it's like you rip through it. But maybe
I don't think it would be.
I don't know if it's an app. Is it a website? Is it a program you sign up for? Maybe a program.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's a program or an email list or whatever it is. But I feel like it would be very similar to maybe other email subscription lists. But
yeah,
I feel like it would be a program or an email list. And then because it's really similar to Arete, where they come on bi-weekly, and then they have that topic for the month, and then it's like, you want to implement this into your company. So it's really similar to that, but I feel like doing those actionable steps where it's like,
because I think the idea stemmed from, it came to me in the middle of one of the previous episodes, either last week or 2 weeks ago, and you were talking about journal prompts, and I thought, man, it'd be cool if there was actually actionable, like if I had a prompt to do something in my business, like if I had the Profit First system where you open these bank accounts and then you do this cash flow system. I wish someone had pointed that to me earlier, instead of me just finding it on my own through picking a book out of Barnes & Noble. So it's almost like a curated list or a curated thing where people are like, hey, start running with this stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. I like it. I think it's got potential.
It does. All these have potential. Whether we attack them in the next 10 to 15 to 20 years, who knows?
Maybe 50.
Yeah. When we're really bored at 70, we're like, fuck, let's start something. Like, well, we had that.
Let's go back to our list.
That business injection idea. It's like, fuck. Is there anything easier? No, it's the last one. We've done all the other ones. Like, I guess. Let's get after that one then.
I love it.
All right. Tyler, this might be a little bit of a shorter episode, 46 minutes. They're usually about 50 to an hour, yeah?
I feel like it's, as long as we aren't like stretching it on, I feel like get the information out there, and hopefully we provide some good value or maybe entertainment or education. Hopefully something.
Or time wasting, if you're just got this on in the background.
Maybe you just want to hang out.
If you want some elevator music, maybe there's playing this in an elevator somewhere.
We should just put elevator music behind us talking really softly.
Yeah, we just gotta. All right, Tyler, anything to send the people? Do you have your quote ready for after I rip this?
I do. I remembered this week.
That's what I like to hear. That's episode 22 of The Midnight Entrepreneur. If you have any questions you'd like us to cover or answer, you can email us at themidnightentrepreneur@gmail.com. If you found value in this content or found this entertaining, share this with a friend or post it on your story. If you really enjoyed the show, we'd love a rating and review on wherever you're listening. Talk to you guys next week for another episode of The Midnight Entrepreneur.
The best way to predict your future is to create it. Abe Lincoln.